All right, next delivery is 6:56, 5 minutes, 2.1 miles. Nice little church here in the corner. You can even have church and home too. There's some people that do it. Thank you. In Maine, it's very popular because of the weather, and they have tremendous amount of weather throughout the winter sometimes. And some people just have church in their home. Went to many services in Maine where we had a reading, a type of sermon and prayer, and Thanksgiving. Meaning not, traditional Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving as in after we were done with the sermon and the reading of the Bible, and sometimes even talking about translation and things like that, and then kind of understanding what we talked about, assessment, then we would have a dinner, and of course prayer. We would have prayer too. In one of these home churches that were in Maine, which was in the old schoolhouse that Bert Cassavetes opened his business, Bert B's. It's now kind of an in-home church in a way. Chris runs it. He helped me quit smoking. I used to smoke for 6 years. Now, no cigarettes. I've not had a cigarette since Chris helped me. Well, I did relapse one time right before I left Maine, and then I was able to quit. But I was able to ultimately conquer it, and I have not had a cigarette for more than a decade. It's more than 10 years, and that was done with prayer only. I tried Nicotine. I tried everything. I tried everything. I had to confess it to someone else, to tell them that was my problem, and then I had to pray about it. And Chris helped me with that. He's a great brother. He's also a Vietnam vet. All right, put on some Mercy Me, even if, but I'm not going to attempt to challenge it on some of that stuff. He's got a great operatic voice. Came up with an idea. So Grace has gotten me down a little bit because I put a little bit of violence in it, but I thought about an idea. So if it did get, let's say, some funding, and I made an agreement as a writer, because writers have rights now, especially after WGA, strike, just after the strike, and also after the actor strike. If I made an agreement and said, listen, I was raised Baptist, I know I wrote this ideally to make money and to sell, but what about if we did a vidAngel version, which means we cut out language and we cut out violence, and then we edited a normal version. So we can have the secular world version and then the vidAngel version. And that would be the only agreement, so that, someone like Paramount or something like that, since I was going to offer a role to Bob Balaban, let's say, he said, okay, we can do something like that. It'd be like a director's cut, okay, which would be vidAngel worthy. So there'd be no curse language, there'd be no violence. It would take out any, I think in Grace, there's only one kiss scene between Rainy Love and Grace Lipbaum. There's only one kiss scene, so there is no sexual stuff in it, and there is some violence. So if they would agree upon that, then maybe there could be something new in Hollywood, even with Paramount, where they would do a director cut vidAngel kind of version, like for the church. Since the church does watch movies, the church will watch vidAngel, or they'll watch a version of a movie in vidAngel, or what they'll do is they'll watch PureFlix. That's a good version right there of Amazing Grace, number 4. Harding University Concert Choir. But there's good versions all over the world. Amazing Grace was originally a poem, and the first part, which I was required to know for a play not many years ago, my second marriage, we were paid about $2,000 a weekend and one weekend out of the year. So we only did the show one weekend, I believe, out of the year. I think it was one weekend, might have been two at the most, but we did do the show several times. We did the show many times. We rehearsed it throughout the year, but we only performed it for the public once out of each year. It's kind of hard to describe. We rehearsed it for about a year and then performed it, and we were paid $2,000. Okay, so each time I did it, it was about $2,000. So it was called Amazing Grace, and we did it at the, I believe, in Garland at the Brownlee Theater, Civic Theater. We also did Pilgrim's Progress at W.E. Scott, Pilgrim's Progress at the Brownlee, and Pilgrim's Progress in Austin. And then we did a medley in Garland called A Medley of Forgiveness. But it starts with Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now can see. And it was written by John Newton, who was a slave trader a long time ago. And he did horrible things, and he surrendered his life over to Jesus Christ. You know, Apostle Paul was known as a murderer and surrendered his life. He was known as Saul, and he became Apostle Paul, and he surrendered his life over to Jesus Christ when he states that he was the chief of sinners and held the coat of Stephen as he was martyred. Martyred is the correct, but he was martyred. Stephen, who was a follower of Christ, they threw rocks at him unto death, meaning they stoned him to death. And Saul, who was Apostle Paul, held the coat so he couldn't defend himself, meaning he took his coat and held it so that the rocks would land correctly and kill Stephen. Because sometimes if they had their coat, they could protect themselves from the rocks, and it would be injury. But he held his coat, and that's a horrible thing to do. He allowed his friend to die for the sake of probably wealth and things. Later, Apostle Paul would be martyred and become a spilt offering. And that was taught to me very well by Josh Smith and Ricky Primrose and MacArthur, to understand that we're all a wretch and that we could be saved by believing in Jesus Christ and knowing that we were once lost, but we can be found. We were once blind, but we can see. We can see that we're saved by Jesus Christ only. Only his name. Next delivery is at 8 o'clock, 11 minutes, either 5.4 miles. So the Sisters of the Confederacy is actually right here on the corner. There's a plaque to them. Linda did a reading on that too. This is a beautiful street here with the... So they added these lights at this office building at the end. I believe we are on Belknap. Yeah, this is Belknap. This is Belknap, and at the very end of Belknap is this office building. And they've recently added these changing green and red lights for Christmas time. I think it's really cool. I guess they can go and program it, and it'll change colors, green and red, green and red. Then there's orange. Oh, I heard Christmas music right over there. You know, guys, I wish I could have been, you know, more Christmas tunes. I only memorized Joy to the World. I know it's Isaac Watts. Maybe next year. I think I'll have Joy to the World down. You know, I have to do it quite a bit to really have it down, you know, although, but I think I might have it down for life. But I've been doing it every night and towards the end vlog on the way back, and it's only because I really want to get that one down. You get one good hymn down to have, you know, for, I guess you could say, evangelical purposes, and for Christmas, you know. So at least you can sing one good one, you know. And I was so honored to work with Puritan Productions and Margaret Z. She's a ballet artist from Hong Kong, a ballet dancer, and her daughter is a doctor and a ballet dancer as well, and worked with us on The Pilgrim's Progress twice, Amazing Grace, which was the life of John Newton, and of course the medley. And Royce, and I cannot pronounce his last name, I'm so sorry, Royce, but he knows who I'm talking about. He was great help, a secret hand backstage, and also he played the monstrous Despair, which is like this giant that locks up Christian, the Pilgrims, Christian and I believe Hopeful. They're locked up for a little while, but they have what's known, which is given to them as an angel, is the key of promise. The key of promise is what sets them free. You got to read the book Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. But I'm so grateful to have worked with them and had gone through that. I saw it as like a little seminary school, you know, that I never. And I asked them about seminary. They said, "Cole, don't worry about seminary. Don't go to seminary. The Bible's written on your heart, and you know, God is your seminary." What is this that's coming across the road? I'm sorry. This is like a possum or something. What is that? Oh my gosh, it's going straight out. Don't do it. Don't. Okay, he went back. Be careful. It's a raccoon. He's coming this way. Oh my goodness gracious. I hope he gets out of it. Oh my god. Okay, it was a raccoon. But I'm so grateful to work with those guys, and of course Margaret, and have a Merry Christmas this holiday to Royce and Margaret and everybody else, and the Puritan Productions and Puritan Players. Don't know if they're still producing work. I hope they are. You have to check up on them on Facebook and see what they do. They usually perform in churches, sometimes, well, most of the time theaters. We usually performed in theaters, but in Austin we performed in a church. Then here we performed in theaters. But I'm grateful that I got to study under them and everything. And that was part of my journey. Important, probably the most important theater troupe, if you want to call them that. They're really a kind of a church. But, you know, they sing, they act, they teach, and they allow us to express God's given talent, is how they put it on their website. My favorite out of it all, though, believe it or not, was the medley of forgiveness. I got to play Peter, which was a rock of the church. I did a little bit of mime, not a whole lot of mime, but a little bit. I owe that to Greg Goldston and Johnny Simons. And I got to do a little bit of that, and then also I got to behave and be Peter. And it was, you know, we took the comedy out of it. We made it kind of a serious monologue based on the Skits Guys, which is a thing online. Well, it's a YouTube thing that you can find anyway. I'm really happy that I got to work with him. And then, of course, Merry Christmas to everyone. Angel and my kids, David, Elizabeth, and Gwendolyn. My son and my 2 daughters. Merry Christmas. Sorry. Daddy has to get a lot of things worked out before he can get a lawyer and bring Mom in to see the judge. And we have to be able to provide. So once my Father allows that to happen, and I mean my Heavenly Father, as in God, then it'll happen. When he feels free to allow that to happen, or when he shows me how and gives me the honor to be able to see you guys. Didn't get to see you past the age of about 5, and I'm sure you are grown up now. David almost 10 years old, and Elizabeth 9, and Gwendolyn 5 years old. And then everybody else in my family and stuff, I will see you after that's worked out. And, you know, if you choose to, you know, want to see me. I know YouTube show is a big deal. We're only at 730 something subscribers, you know. But, all right. So Merry Christmas to everyone else that watches the show, all the subscribers and followers and people that are interested. Thank you. And all the people I've met along the way. And also, I wanted to say Merry Christmas to Angel's mom and to my mom as well, because I've been taught by the Holy Spirit to forgive everybody for everything. And so, with forgiveness in my heart, but I do want to wish you all a Merry Christmas to everybody. It's been a hard 4 years for me, you know. These last 4 years have been really, really hard. And probably it's maybe the hardest time in my life, other than when I lived in New York. Of course, that was very difficult because of 9/11 and everything that people went through. But I'm still grateful, and I still love God. I'm not bitter. I'm still grateful, and I'm grateful for all my teachers, Greg and Ken Stilson, to Estelle Parsons, Ellen Burstyn, you know. I think Billy Zane was in the audience, but he didn't say a whole lot, but he was one time at the Actor Studio. I know he's playing Brando. Just anybody I'd come across or gazed upon or whatever, or walked in front of. Just thankful for being able to tell a story. And of course, Josh and Ricky from MacArthur Boulevard Baptist, Merry Christmas to you too. I mean, I am learning to let go and let God, and just to forgive. It's the best way. Drawing people in court and stuff is not good, but when it comes to children, sometimes you might have to do that, you know. Over the last 4 years, it's been hard for me to make that decision. I could never imagine in a million years I could sue Angel. I mean, she gave me, you know, life, which is children. So how could I possibly do that? But I don't know any other way to be able to see them. I mean, I can't think of any other way. Unless a miracle happens and Angel all of a sudden gets a hold of me. And if that miracle happens, everyone will know about it, you know, that watches the show. I think it'd be a great ending to the vlog to be able to see my kids.